consideration of relocating Coalinga Horned Derby to APN 083-090-51S for 2023. Marissa?
Thank you. So Scott Netherton is present. He can come up and answer any questions the council has. There is information in the agenda item, and there's also a map up on the screen. Council is not approving whether or not this can be there. We just need to make sure that you're okay with, you can come up here, Scott, sorry. We just need to make sure you're okay with moving forward, at which time staff would need to bring some items back to you. But we'll let Scott sort of explain what he would like to do on this property for the Derby.
Thank you, Marissa. Back in June of 2022, we held a debriefing here at City Hall where many of you were in attendance following the Derby, where we discussed events that transpired at Derby. And one of the main focuses was, and the primary focus was, concerns over the safety of those who attended the event. A real concern for Chief Garza was that he felt that we had just in fact outgrown the property we were on. Comments were made about whether fences should be brought in and steps could be taken to assure everyone's safety. Since before Thanksgiving, we've been in negotiations with Park and Rec about facility usage, and with Derby less than 6 months away, we stand at a crossroads right now. Mr. Richard Griffin is the owner of 40 acres of property located south of Sacramento Street, as shown in the plat you received, and he has offered us use of his property. We understand that this property is currently zoned residential, but we are asking that you consider allowing us 1 year at this location to assess the future viability, where we realize we would need to come back for further discussions before any permanent arrangement could possibly be considered. I've taken the time to draw up a simple site plan that shows what we are proposing. Speaking with Mr. Griffin, he's indicated he felt confident he could reach out to several local families with heavy equipment who could perform grading and compaction, and that they could have the property clean, leveled, and compacted as needed to support the traffic and equipment we anticipate bringing in. Ingress and egress would be one-way ingress off of Sacramento Street, so north being top, headed south. Egress would be off a lot of usage that it can be in the community. It isn't just for Derby. But we understand it's residential zoned right now, but we would like an opportunity this year to see what we can do and to make it work, because we're having difficulty reaching an agreement with Park and Rec, and we may need to look for future locations anyway. And this opportunity has come, and we think it's in a perfect location. Where we set up the concert area, there's nothing south of there till you hit Paso Robles. So, any questions you have? I'm sure everyone has a lot of questions.
I have a question on liability. Is there any liability concerns for the city?
No, we carry a $2 million insurance policy that always names the city of Coalinga, always named Coalinga Huron Park and Rec. It would be the same this time. We still have our insurance. It would name the city. It would name Mr. Griffin. We'll need to get permission to use that access road off of Pacific. It'll name them as well in case anything were to happen. So,
Sounds like you've done your homework.
well, it isn't something we thought about lightly. I mean, again, I've been here 55 years. Thought of moving Derby out of there, was never even a consideration. But if we said it, again, fencing came up. Years ago, that idea came up, and there were T-shirts made. I can't say what they said, but people did not want fences. So if this is an opportunity, if we're going to do it, we do it right, where there it is fenced in. It isn't just people bringing in fences because we don't think Coalinga can control themselves and surrounding the park with, removable fences. This would be a fairground style facility where, again, many events, it isn't just to keep people in or out for that event. It's basically to keep it secure year round. So we have put a lot of thought into it, and we hope you'll consider it.
So we basically just need a nod of the council that you're okay with Scott moving in this direction, and then we'll bring some items back that council will need to approve, but he needs to know one way or another because he's already starting to plan for Derby.
Real quick, before you guys say anything, I won't be able to vote on this because in past year, I actually profited from it. And it's a possibility I will next year. So I'm gonna be just sitting here not voting at all.
You're abstaining then, yeah.
James. Yeah. Skip. Beat it.
Does anybody else have any questions? The community?
Do we
think-
need an official vote on this, or just?
I think it's a great idea. I'm glad you made that point between here in Paso Robles. There's a lot of people coming now, and especially when that four-way is gonna be done. I mean, I think it's a great idea, and I think, like, you made a perfect reference about that gun. I sat down with Chief. It was a kid, and it was loaded. It was just by an accident that they checked him, and he had it. I think these steps that are being taken, are being brought up to our attention is a great idea, because a lot of people depend on this to have their family time. Is getting really big at expanding, and for the safety of the community and for our EMS, police, fire, everybody. I think it's a starting point and a great idea to do something like that. And we never, it's rare when somebody decides to put their land up for our fun and entertainment. So,
I did want to mention as well, up here, there are several areas where it'll have privacy fencing, because we do realize there are residents north of the upper parking area. So that would be a fence where you can't see through, because their backyard literally has wrought iron and there's nothing south of them, so they never really put anything up. But, and again, the parking is to provide a buffer between their residents and what would be happening on the fairground. Same along with Mr. Griffin's property up there, we'd have privacy fencing to where it can't be viewed inside his area.
Before I comment on this, Scott, I'm thinking what's throwing me off right here. It's your hat. You're not wearing a hat, man. You're throwing me off. I'm looking confused right now.
You might say no, so
I'm thinking, that's what it is. But I mean, it's kind of hard for the city to say no, even though people don't like change. It is what it is. We get comfortable within our zones and we don't like change. But change is a part of life. And I mean, we can't say that you've done a bad job since you've been there to say, no, you can't put this guy to do this. Everything you've done so far has panned out beautifully. So you've done your footsteps on it. So of course, I mean, there's no way we can say no because you're looking out for the safety, number one. You know, and who knows how many other derbies there's been more lethal weapons and guns there. But you have to address it now than to try to fix it afterwards. You have everything designed out. Put the ball in motion. And yeah, take a shot. Go for it, man. I think the city will definitely stand behind you.
Is that the way you feel too? We're not gonna vote on this, we just have a deal about.
Don't forget Richard wanted to say something.
Oh, and Richard Hill, I'm sorry, Richard wants to speak for a second.
Yeah, Richard Hill, president of the chamber. Me and Scott have been working on this, and he's put his footprint, like you said, on this thing. One of the things that, you know, I want to bring up is that Scott, we've already talked about, is that Butler, eventually, if this thing goes through, Butler will bring bigger and more rides. The bigger the rides, the better the rides are. Guess what we get in Coalinga? We get more people coming to Coalinga, which is a financial, you know, win for Coalinga. So the idea is to make this as big as we can, keep it safe for our community, bring in more kiddie rides for our kids. Also, we can do swap meets there. You know, if we have really good years, maybe even the chamber might even buy the property. If we can buy the property, well, then it's a win-win. We can put a miniature golfs in there. We can have swap meets in there. There's 100 things we can do there. You know, then we can put a statue of myself. No, I'm only kidding, only kidding. But there's a lot of things we can do with this thing. So it's an absolute win-win not for me and Scott, but for our community and for the kids and the young people coming in. And when people come into Coalinga, they say, what is there to do? There it is. We'll have stuff for them to do. And you guys have got that opportunity right now to say, let's go for it. We're going to give you that shot. We don't know where it's going to end up. We don't know. But we can hope that in 5 years, we have the hugest event in our little area. And that will bring a ton of money and people that want to come and stay here, hopefully. You know, I just wanted to make sure that we got that in. You know, wear a hat, Scott.
Sit down before you talk them out of it. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think we have it from the board to go ahead and do it, so go ahead and show us what you can do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.